in Ulverston. I'm Kay.
And I'm Hayley.
And today we're just going to go through some questions that have come through and try and answer those for you. Frequently in the shop and in workshops we get asked questions about different aspects of sewing. So today we thought we'd just compile a few of them together that have come through. So over to Hayley now.
Actually, it's over to you, Mum.
Oh, it is.
So the first one's coming from Sue.
With no auto cue in case you're wondering. So Sue from Dundee is just asking which needles for which fabrics and how do I know which to choose. So we've got a range of needles here that we can show you. You've got your standard universal needles. These are the most common used needles and ranging from a 70 to 100 in size. They're used for woven fabrics, 70 being for the finest of your materials, so things like your silk and fine cottons, cotton lawns, ranging up to the 100 that's generally used for your thicker type fabrics, like your upholstery weight cottons. So that's your universal needle. We stock Prim, which are basically they are generic for most machines and with the flat back on the needle. Okay.
So Jersey's next.
Yeah. So next one is the Jersey needle. Again, the range we have is a 70 to 90 size needle. These are used for your stretch fabric. So like it says on the packet, used for your jerseys. There's two types of needle. There's a jersey and there's a stretch needle. The jersey is tended to use for your fabrics like jersey, t-shirt weight, viscose jersey, that sort of thing. Pontoroma, your French terries, and you can use the top end, the 90, you can use for your sweatshirts and things, although that would be where your stretch needle, that would come into it. They tend to have the eye of the needle is higher up the shank, so it makes a longer loop when you're stitching. So ideal for going through thicker fabrics that are stretch as well, to still give them that quality of not snapping when you've stitched them. Okay, so that's those two. The next one we've got jeans needles. Now these tend to be used for heavyweight fabrics, so denim fabrics, curtaining, anything that's a very heavyweight fabric. They have a very sharp point and again a longer shaft, because often the thickness of these fabrics is too much to go through for your finer needles. So that's those. Canvas, drill, very heavyweight upholstery fabrics, and usually are just in a size 90 is what we stock.
Next one's leather.
Leather. Yep, so your leather, exactly what it says on the packet. We use these for leather, leatherette, those sort of fabrics, and they're shaped in a way that they actually cut the leather as it goes through rather than just piercing it, which makes it much easier for sewing through it as well. It's just the shape of the needle. They come in different sizes for different thicknesses. We've got the range 80 to 100 we stock. Microtex, this is the last one, so I hope this is all helping. These have a very fine, slim tip, very sharp, excellent for fine fabrics. And we say just for fine fabrics, in fact we've even used these on workshops using on our leatherette, and they work great for that as well, but just bearing in mind not through very thicknesses because of the fineness of the needle. So they are great for fabrics that are very densely woven as well because they're so sharp. 70 again, these are 60 to 80, round about a 70 for your finer fabrics like your viscose that needs something, it's tightly woven but it's very lightweight, up to a 90 for your heavier ones, which we used in the class for your leatherettes. And I hope that's helped to answer the question then for needles.
You can have a drink of your cup now.
Okay, thank you, Hayley.
So the next one is from Helen from Durham. So she just asked how often should she be changing her sewing machine needle. So we just said that approximately every 3 to 4 projects, or if the needle starts skipping stitches or even making a louder noise than usual. That's normally a good indicator to change when it's making a funny noise. So like I say, it's one thing to look out for, but obviously if you're doing a larger project, you may want to change it once you've finished that, like maybe a quilt or something like that. So like I say, normally 3 to 4 projects, or if a large project, then you would change it after that. So the next one then is from Marilyn. She's from Lincoln. She asked the question that she's a non-sewer, and her and her daughter are starting out. She has a machine. Her daughter has a machine, but she would like to get a starter kit for her, and she's asked him what we would recommend. So there is a number of things that we have here that we would look at. So what we recommend is always invest in a very good pair of dressmaking scissors. So the ones that we recommend are the Prim ones. Now these have a serrated edge on them, so not only do they grip the fabric, but they cut it really well at the same time. So they're really good.
They are excellent scissors, yeah, really good.
The next one we would recommend is some sharp branded pins. The ones that we recommend are the Prim glass-headed pins. These are really sharp, and a really good sort of starter
There's lots
pin
in that
as well.
range really as well, isn't there, that you
In
can
the Prim,
choose from
yeah.
in the Prim. We just tend to like them because they've got the glass heads on. They're easier to get hold of. The dressmaking pins are great, aren't they? But they're not as easy to get hold of when they've got that really
sewing. Just a tiny head, yeah. The next thing we've always found is really good is the magnetic pin cushion. These have been invaluable. So they stop you from losing all those pins, stop you from needing more and more all the time. And like I say, if you do drop them, you can just turn the magnetic pin holder upside down and it picks them up for you. So it's really good.
Living room floor, yeah, just loft it over.
So that's really good. Like I say, you knock it over, you spill them on the floor. It's quick and easy to pick them up. A tape measure is a definite in a dressmaker's kit. So we have the Prim one available. It is quite long. This one is 254 centimetres, which is 100 inches. So really good, and you can use it for everything, because like I say, there's not much more that you would need 100 inches.
It's just an example of the things, isn't it?
Then as Mum, Kay, has just said, we've just been through the range of sewing needles. So like I say, there's a fantastic range there that we stock for the Prim needles as well. And the only other thing obviously is different threads. So we stock Gutterman threads, absolutely fantastic. They're sew all threads, so they're used for everything. So like I said, we have around about, is it, how many colours in there? Is it 8? There's a lot of colours anyway. There's about 500 different colours anyway. So there's a lot to choose from. So hopefully that'll be nice little kit. We are looking at putting some kits together for Christmas, and some sort of starter kits as well. So if you want to pop us a message, your budget, that sort of thing, we can organise that for you if you were looking for presents as well. Okay, back over to you.
Okay, so next question is Jess from Coniston, who is new to sewing. She's wanting to know what is the difference between woven fabric and stretch. She finds some patterns a little bit confusing, and I think what it is, the backs of your patterns will usually state suggested fabrics to use, and they won't tell you which fabric. They'll just say woven or stretch, and if you are new to sewing, that doesn't always make a lot of sense. So basically, your woven fabric is any fabric that isn't a stretch fabric, to keep it simple. So things like your cottons, your viscose, linen, although some linens have a little bit of movement in them, but they are still a woven fabric. Some denims and some wools. Again, denims and wools do cross over, because you can get some stretch denims, can't you, that we stock a lot of those, and you can always get some wools that have that little bit of movement in them too. So that's sort of the clarification for a woven fabric. Stretch fabrics, again, they'll vary, and often patterns will state the amount of stretch that you need in a fabric. So it could be, it should be displayed on the fabric when you're buying it, or if you just ask at the shop where you're buying it from, they'll be able to show you that. And a bit later on, we'll pop up a little stretch percentage guide for you and show you how to use that to calculate any that you may already have at home. It's what we use in the shop to help us as well. So your stretch fabrics are things like your jersey, your viscose jersey fabrics, your sweatshirts, and again some stretch denims. You'll also get knit fabrics, a bit like some of these that we've got up here, that are like your cardigan knits. Again, they are a stretch fabric, but slightly different to your jerseys. They're made up of like a knitted fabric. So I hope that clears that little bit up for you, Jess. If not, just get back in touch with us. So, and similar, this leads on to Sally from Ulverston. Again, a little bit wary about using stretch fabrics. So can we explain the different types of knit and stretch fabrics? So jersey, which is the one that most people start with, is a single knit fabric, which means it's got its pattern on one side only, and then it's plain on the other side. It's ideally, it's usually a four-way stretch as your jerseys, which means it stretches up, down, out and out, so all ways basically. Some people will call that a two-way stretch because it's that way and that way. So it could be two-way, four-way, but ideally we class that as a four-way stretch. That sort of fabric, your jerseys, is great for your t-shirts. If you're thinking how you wear your t-shirt, you need it to stretch as it goes on, and you need it to stretch as it comes down. So great for t-shirts, tops, pajamas, loungewear, children's clothing, especially little children's clothing, because it's so comfortable to wear and easy to put on, usually with no openings, just over the head. And some dress patterns also you can use your jersey for. Another stretch fabric is a French terry, and that is very similar to a jersey, except it has a loop back. The way it's knitted, it's a weight that is an in-between weight between your jersey, which is a lighter weight stretch, and your sweatshirting, which is, as you know, for sweatshirts, is a heavier weight. So your French terry sort of falls in between them. It'll either be called French terry or loop back jersey, and it has similar stretch qualities, though not as much stretch either way as your jersey does. It's ideal for hoodies, loungewear, joggers, and it's knit using loops that are longer than the jersey knit, so that it gives it that good stretch and recovery really. So that's that. I can show you a couple of those now while we're talking about them. So this one here is a jersey, so you can see how your jersey fabric stretches that way and that way. Your French terry is a fabric, you see your jersey on the back is just plain single knit. Your French terry is the one that has the loop back, which you may be able to see there, all the little loops on it. Now that again has the good stretch that way and that way, but not quite as much as your jersey, just because of the way it's knit. So that's those two sort of explained to you. Sweatshirting, that's a more heavier weight stretch fabric, which is great for your hoodies. Are you going to get us some, Hayley? Hoodies, loungewear, joggers. Some dresses can be made with your sweatshirting.
What's your favourite?
It is my favourite. It does have good stretch quality, again, but not as much as your jersey. So, let's show you that a little bit. So this is your sweatshirt, and this is one of our plain fleece back sweatshirtings. Beautiful, lovely and soft. So there's your fleece back quality on the back of it, and that's your sweatshirt in front. Again, you can see it's got good stretch, this one, but not as much downwards, so it's more classed as going across your stretch. So again, whereas before we said your jerseys were a four-way stretch where they go that way and that way, this again is more two-way because it goes more that way and not really that way, if that makes sense to you. Okay, so we've got a little chart here that we use all the time. It's a Megan Nielsen, it's a free download chart, and it's excellent. It's stretch percentage guide. So again, when some patterns might say to you, it needs to have 40% stretch at least, then you know you can work it out from this little chart there. the idea behind it is when you make a stretch garment up, it is never as big as you, so it needs to have that stretch to fit comfortably. So can I just have one of those jerseys here, just to have a look and see if we can show it on here. We might be able to show you on here. Right, I know the crocodiles are upside down, but never mind that for now. So if you have a look on here on this little chart, can we see it all right on there or not? Right, on this chart, yeah, if you hold it, it tells you to hold your piece of fabric up between those. So for example, you would hold your piece of fabric between, probably a bit nearer, between there and there. And then keep them held tight. That's just natural relaxed. And then pull it and see how far it's stretched. 50. So that's really working out at 50% stretch. So I hope that made sense. That's how it works, and we will put the link for this little guide at the end of the video as well. So that just gives you a little insight into stretch and woven. So that's all we've got time really to answer this week. We will be doing these more often, and when we get a little bit braver, we might even do them live. At the moment, we're not brave enough. So if you want to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, you won't miss it. We'll give you notifications when we are putting new videos and different links on there as well. It's totally free to subscribe. Just hit the subscribe button, and then I think, is there a little bell you hit as well, and then that gives you the notifications too. So thank you all, and bye for now.
Bye.